Mr. Brennan,
Present.
Mr. Rickman,
Here.
Mr. McDowell,
You're on mute, Ed.
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Here.
Mr. Vine,
Here.
Mr. Davis,
Here.
Mayor Benjamin.
Present, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend McDowell, would you bless us with a word, brother?
Yes. Oh Lord, for this day and for all that you've done for us for this new year, for this year that offers and lends to each one of us new possibilities, opportunities, and an enhancement of your goodness here in this our city. Lord, we pray individually and yet we do this collectively. Let New Year be a year of those possibilities that will enable our city and the leadership thereof to make decisions that are meaningful to this city and for the constituents thereof. We ask that in your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Reverend McDowell. Are there any amendments to the agenda, Mr. Duval?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we amend the agenda item 17 by adding zoning matters to legal advice for attorney-client privilege. And I'd like to move that we also defer item 18.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right. Questions? Saying none, we'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
I vote aye, and so does the real boss in this household. So,
That rat.
Oh.
you're really gonna call a cotton ball a rat, Sam? Really? She would take offense to that. So she votes aye as well.
She got wet. Okay. I'm a German Shepherd, man.
Okay. Well, good deal. Is there a motion to approve the council minutes from December 1st and December 15th?
So move.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Yeah, mute Tamika.
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. All right. COVID-19, I know we have Director Tinsley on board to give us a sit rep, and I'm looking forward to hearing the latest in data. And obviously, we all know we're in a difficult and dangerous time in the life of the pandemic. It's also covered and wrapped in a great deal of hope as the vaccine becomes distributed all across the country. Maybe not off to as aggressive a start as all of us want, but still a real start. And really, I will say it's been a warming thing hearing and reading some of the stories of individuals who've gotten the first dose and some who've actually gotten the second dose of the virus. We've engaged conversations, city manager and I and others with everyone from our state epidemiologists and also some of our hospital officials, really just making sure that as things become a bit more democratized as they work their way through the phases of vaccine delivery, obviously we want to do everything that we can. This is a lot tougher than obviously the public policy pronouncements around masking, or even as technical as testing and the great job our team and our staff did in making it happen. Vaccine delivery is a whole different ball of wax, but certainly it's been important to us to make it clear that anything and everything we can do from the city perspective, and making sure that we see an efficient and effective delivery of the vaccine, not only to our citizens, but certainly to the anyone and everyone across the metropolitan area in the order of the priority that it's been established by the federal government. Obviously, taking care of those who take care of us first, those who are in the line of fire and who will have to make sure provided for, and certainly our seniors and those who suffer from the greatest comorbidities that make them particularly vulnerable to this virus, and working our way down the pecking order. I know it's a constant concern to many of our public health professionals, just making sure that we're all doing our part in constantly messaging the importance, obviously, of taking the vaccine, seeing higher levels of distrust in Black and Brown communities in particular. We have a unique role. I had a wonderful conversation, I think Teresa may have as well, with Chief Jenkins and others, and the Chief, really about taking a very public role as firefighters and other first responders, getting vaccinated. These images will play a significant role in us being able to achieve what appears to be maybe 80% penetration rate to get the herd immunity that we all see. So our role in this space is going to be much more different than it has been in delivering the part of the phase of the pandemic, but nonetheless, maybe the most important role. So as that develops, and I mean, you all are founts of ideas. Those ideas have been edifying, and I think helping the city and our residents and our business community make their way through this. Let's just kind of keep on innovating and ideating and iterating. Just any idea, as wacky as it might seem, early in the morning, late at night, let's just keep throwing them on the table and just figure out what we can do to help folks make it through this. So one of the leaders at Prisma said the other day, the cavalry is literally on the other side of the hill. We can hear it. So our job is really just let's push people to be resilient these last several months. And if we can, we'll all be in a much better place. Thank you all for your collective leadership as our role as a role around vaccine delivery becomes more clear or more real. I will make sure that we endeavor to share that. But obviously, the important role we can play right now is in messaging the importance of getting the vaccine as well. Mr. Davis, I see your hand, brother.
I'm sorry. I agree with you totally, but I think I know we all have a very high level of appreciation now for what we've been trying to do as a city, the measures we've taken, and for those who don't believe in the end product that we're trying to achieve, I think as late as today, my eyes have been widened by just listening to two reports I've heard. One, the number of senior citizens that are waiting in lines in their cars for the vaccine overnight and that sort of thing. And the other is, which is I think very disheartening, is that in California, they've sort of made a decision that people who may have been in accidents or whatever, they've sort of instructed the EMS folks not to take them to hospitals if it appears that they may not survive.
Yeah,
that's an eye opener. They've got to make decisions like that. So the numbers are important. Either we continue to work to suppress them, to prevent them, or we just give up and say, let it be.
Yeah, that's definitely a real challenge, and I would be remiss if I didn't, as we can move on to Director Tinsley's report unless someone else has something to offer. Obviously we've spent a great deal of time the last several months, and I thank all of you for your input and your engagement in the process of thinking about the future of the city, on ensuring that in our excellent strategic plan that Teresa and her team are executing on, we continue to feed this theme of equity throughout the organization in all aspects of all things that we do, the things we have direct control over, the things that we can only just hope to influence. But that also obviously works squarely into this discussion around vaccine delivery. You know, a lot of communities may not feel that they have full and clear and complete access to vaccine delivery. So in everything that we everything that I say and do, and I've got some great data and some reports here if you guys want some downtime, have some downtime, might want to review. It's important that we that we do all that we can to see a fair and equitable distribution of the vaccine within the city as best we can. So anyway, thank you all for indulging me, and thank you again for your collective leadership. I'll say this last thing, and I'll be quiet. Chris Trainer did a report this past week, article in which he referenced just some of the different priorities, and I thought it was refreshing. I'm not sure if everyone else saw it the same way I did, to see the diversity of ideas and priorities that were not mutually exclusive, but all forward thinking about the long-term health and prosperity of the city. We're dealing with the short-term and long-term effects of the pandemic. It was refreshing to see we hadn't taken our eyes off the long ball and making these short-term decisions. We've also continued to focus long-term. So we got a lot to get done as we start this first meeting of the new year, and I'm confident we can get them done together. So thank y'all for your collective leadership articulated in that article. Madam City Manager, you got Director Ten on tap?
Yes, sir. And as he prepares to address you all with his situational update, I do want to thank Harry for the efforts, to your points, all of your points about vaccinations, of trying to be that person who is on it every day, working with the partners, whether it's the hospital system or the county or the state, DHEC. He's doing that. I think what we are observing is, you're exactly right, that there needs to be the role that you all have been playing of encouraging our citizenry to be ready when it's their turn to take the vaccine. The issue, and hopefully you all, Mayor Benjamin, can also help with this, it appears to be the administration, the capacity to administer the vaccine seems to be what we're noticing, to the point of, we're so thankful that our firefighters, of course, are in the queue. And I've heard this, Sheriff Lee Foster and others, he was public yesterday about some of the anxiety with law enforcement being able to get there and have their turn. Of all people, they should be getting those vaccinations immediately, and to our vulnerable populations, like you mentioned, Mayor Benjamin. So Harry's been navigating some of that. And what I thought was interesting too this morning, the Surgeon General himself said that the directives with the phased approaches, they put prescribed phases out, but they did say to the states that as you enter a phase, that's a guide. That does not mean that you can't begin to move into another phase. And if you've got those vulnerable populations and or immediate needs for public safety officials, et cetera, I would hope that whatever we can do to encourage that ability to get these folks vaccinated if they're there and ready, that we need to be doing that. And so that I will ask Harry to, give his report and maybe shed a little light, because some of you have asked me what is our approach to the vaccination of our frontline staff, and we're ready for it. But we have to be able to be authorized to allow them to get the vaccine, to include, solid waste and other frontline staff who are working with the public every day. And so I just want you to know that we're being very vigilant to give them the opportunity as soon as we get the go ahead to do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa.
Harry?
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Madam City Manager. Again, thank you for your time. There's additional information that's in your inbox currently on some numbers today. I'll brief out. So most of you may already know some of this data. According to the CDC, as of January 4th, the U.S. now has over 20 million cases, confirmed cases, and we're now north of 350,000 deaths due to COVID-19. The numbers that report out today in our state, confirmed case count stands at over 300,000. We're at 302,003 as of the latest reporting period. There have been over 3.8 million tests. Today's case count reports out at 2,285. That is a 30.7% positivity rate. There were, unfortunately, 12 additional confirmed deaths, which brings our state total to 5,068. Here in Richland County, our case count stands now, as of today, at 25,208. We had 119 new cases as of last reporting, and that's down a pretty good bit as of yesterday's numbers. Over the last 14-day report-out period from December 20th to January 2nd, Richland County is averaging about 2,700 new cases through that reporting period, which is just under 200 cases each day. As you know, I think our first meeting in December, a month ago, we were between 70 and 90 new cases a day. So we are all seeing the current spike in case counts. And today's reporting, we did have one additional death in Richland County report out, which brings our total in Richland County to 322. That will post today. Of that 14-day reporting period, the 5 zip codes with the highest had over 200 case count for those 14 days. The 29229 zip code had the highest at 369. And as of the December 30th report out, all 46 counties in our state have a high recent disease activity. Richland County currently is 605.9 per 100,000, with our percent positivity rate at 15.9. That is down or low considering our surrounding counties who are in the 20s, low 20s to upper 20s. As of the January 2nd reporting sample, the state recovery rate is estimated at 89.1%. The state case fatality rate is estimated at 1.79%. That's down from 1.92 slightly. We are in our state averaging, as I said, over 2,500 new cases each day, with our average statewide positivity test rate at 22.3%. Hospitalizations remain high. If you notice and track the data that is being reported out through DHEC, today's bed utilization rate is at 80.49%. The ICU bed utilization rate is at 79.88, and this is in your dashboard sheet. The current patient hospitalization due to COVID-19 in our state is 2,344. With 447 of those in ICU and 241 on ventilators. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. You're on mute, Ed.
Harry, if you
Yes,
would,
sir.
again, I heard you give us the zip code information. You said 29229. How many cases,
Yes.
Harry?
369 over a 14-day reporting period.
All right, what are the other four zip coded areas?
The other remaining ones that were high, on the sheet, 29016 was one of those, 29063, 29203, 29210, and 29223 were the ones that were over 200.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. And if I may, just as Ms. Wilson alluded to, I wanted to make a note. As far as the phased approach that the state is working right now, we have, through our partnership and our collaboration with our local partners, county, state, hospital, Prisma, and just about every partner that we can communicate with, we have put our folks together to try to get them uploaded when they are appropriately aligned with the phased approach, and those medical first responders, our firefighters that fall in that phase 1A. So we have uploaded those. Our police officers in 1B have been uploaded into, and they're standing on queue, and we'll move through that process with our other workers as we get into the phase 1C and on through that through the additional phases. So we are monitoring that and making sure that we are getting our folks ready as quick as we can in the phase, and we're communicating that along with DHEC and some of our other partners. But just wanted to give you that update. I know you're seeing some of those folks are already getting the vaccine. One of the issues is once you get loaded and uploaded into the what's called the Vaccine Administrative Management System, they call it VAMS. It generates an email to that individual whose organization or employer has certified or put them as a priority based on their job class. So that goes in and generates an email for them to schedule their appointment. So there is a little, lag in folks getting that schedule based on how they can get it done. I mean, there are folks still out working on the front lines, so they're having to schedule that, and there may be a little lag in that. Some of the others is as we work through these phases, I would tell you in communications with our contacts at DHEC and some of the other partners, these phases are most likely going to run succinctly as they roll out to move from one to the other. So you may still see some overlap. We're hoping to have that be initiated here in the coming near future. So thank you.
So thank you, Chief. Yeah, Mr. Duval.
Harry, is there any possibility of having our relationship with Doctors Care and our own health management system vaccinating our own personnel?
That's
essential.
That's a very good question. We have been planning that. We have been in communication with them, and that is in the works. Our Chief of Staff, Ms. Benjamin, has been working with me and diligently with Doctors Care. They are, as I understand it, as they start to receive their shipments, then we will include those employees that fall up under those phases to administer that. So we're working that process, and that is a process. That's a very good point. Yes, sir, we are. I will say that the direct shipments that we're giving to hospitals, the easiest way to get your phase 1A workers in there was to work them through that process. So we've kind of done it a multiple pronged approach, if you will, to try to make sure that we're exhausting every available option at the most appropriate time. And we are being very diligent in making sure that we are getting our folks in queue where they need to be at the earliest opportunity. We do not want to be in the back seat, if you will. So thank you. Very good point.
Harry.
Mr. McDowell and Ms. Devine.
Yes.
Yes. Harry, let me ask a follow-up question, something that Howard probably alluded to just a moment ago. Will there be other strategic places within the city where perhaps vaccinations are given? Have you all thought about that? Or thought about that possibility?
It is my understanding that DHEC is working on a plan to assist in doing that, similarly to the way they did the testing. As you know, this is more of a medical procedure, so they require requirement of making sure that those qualified folks are actually administering that. It is my understanding that they are working to implement the plan and I guess I'd call them strike teams that they would send out to various locations in those populations. That is my understanding. We'll continue to work that angle to get clarification.
That's not a good term to use with somebody who's going to give you a shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
It's a command. It's a NIMS command ICS term.
Ms. Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess Chief Tinsley, want to go back to the testing and our current status, and I guess what the conversations are regarding this new strain of COVID, as we can tell from other states that are starting to see cases. That it's about 60 to 70%, I guess, more spread. And from right now with the statewide percent rate from yesterday, I guess 30%, but here in Richland County, I'm glad to know that, or the Midlands were less than everybody else, but around 15%. That's still a high spread. If we're looking, I guess, what precautions or what preparations are being made if we start getting to the point where we see even a more contagious strain coming here, and the testing, is there any, I think people have the fatigue, but is there anything else that can be done to emphasize more testing so that we know where the spread is in the community to try and get a better handle on where we are?
Yes, ma'am. We have sent out a good, very robust communication strategy in communicating the testing importance, the testing locations. We've used our website, all social media platforms. Our PR team and some other folks internal have done a fantastic job at communicating that. There has been some lag and some fatigue. I mean, we've been in this a long time, as everybody feels the same fatigue. I'm not aware of any of the strain that are reporting out in Colorado and some of the other states that you're speaking of that we have here yet. I will tell you that with any of this, the vaccine, getting the vaccine, as the mayor said, out and widespread is of the utmost importance. The other is to continue our mitigation strategies through the social distancing and our mask wearing and things of that nature. So I think we'll continue to work through that process. We will internally as staff, we have another call tomorrow. We will bring that up to discuss some strategies to, additionally push out some additional information and blasts, because I think sometimes you do get that fatigue. So we'll continue to push that strategy and communicate.
And Mr. Mayor, I guess the only thing is, because I think people now, their minds are switching to the vaccine. People are like thinking, okay, the vaccine is coming, but when you look timing wise, we're looking probably April, May, where you're going to get to phase 1B, where people are really getting vaccinated. So if maybe we can also start thinking of the strategies and utilizing our platforms to keep pushing out the testing and encouraging, not just testing locations, but encouraging people to get tested, I think that would be helpful as well.
No, I think doubling down on our messaging we've had since the very beginning, or at least as it has evolved, is so important on testing and masking and social distancing and sanitizing the whole 9 yards. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So, thank you, Ms. Devine. Thank you, and thank you, Harry. We agree with Teresa's assessment of your continued leadership, and we're very, very, very appreciative. Very appreciative.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor, Director Tinsley. Mr. Mayor, at this time, I'm excited for the full council to hear an update on an ongoing effort through the Midlands Business Leadership Group, the Governmental Cooperation Initiative, and several of you on council have been participating in some of these meetings along the way. I certainly have been, as well as all of the other Midlands managers, administrators, staff that have been particularly involved, including our own Robert Anderson, with this effort of the Gateway Beautification Initiative. And so it's really moving along. It's taken a good while, but we are at a point for some decision points. And I know that Mr. James Bennett, as chair of this particular committee initiative, and Ms. Megan Hickman with Ingenuity SC will brief you in its entirety and give you some next steps. Clint, Robert, and I are also available to, share anything that they would need us to. So with that, I'll turn it over to James and Megan.
All right. Thank you, City Manager Wilson. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. And to Mayor Benjamin and members of council, first of all, good year. Happy New Year to a good year. And thank you so much for the great work that you do every day to make our city great. On behalf of the Midlands Business Leadership Group, thank you today for allowing me to join you to discuss this project, which has been in the work for some time. As Teresa mentioned, I'm James Bennett with First Citizen Bank, but I have on the line with me Will Shrink with Ingenuity, Reginald Simmons, and Gregory Sprouse with Central Midlands Council of Governments. Most of you may be aware that the Midlands Business Leadership Group represent about 45 of our area largest employers, and who we have long convened to work on critical issues in this region. In 2016, we took a leadership role in launching a new collaborative, private sector driven, an effort to improve our region competitiveness in pursuit of a better place for all people in the region, and according to the vision that you see here. And we came up with 7 priorities. It ranged anywhere from regional economic development, entrepreneurial, regional branding and pride. We have an Assembly Street improvement initiative, riverfront development, civic collaboration. But what we are here to talk to you today about is the governmental cooperation piece. So we boil down all of those 7 priorities to make a difference within a reasonable time frame. Now, as it relates to the governmental cooperation, I'm pleased with the leadership in particular of Mayor Steve Benjamin, Councilwoman Tamika Isaac Devine, City Manager Teresa Wilson, and Robert Anderson. They have been all committed and faithful members of this cooperative action, cooperative initiative within the region. Our goal is to help build stronger working relationships between local elected officials. Our approach developed through the input of elected officials from City of Columbia, Lexington County, Richland County, Casey, West Columbia, and Springdale, is to work on collaborative projects. And Councilman Daniel Rickerman, I failed to mention you, but you have been an active part of this group also, and we appreciate your participation. But if we didn't have a project, what we have done to I guess what I would describe, put the band back together, is very significant. That's the collaboration, the communication, and the cooperation of governmental entities in Richland, Lexington County, Springdale, and the City of Columbia. Initially, we plan to work on a long discussed airport connector. During the process of communication, we learned that this project was no longer a top priority. Then we moved our focus on beautifying prominent gateways to our region using a uniform design that will be low maintenance, durable, and attractive all year long. And the city manager, I don't know if they have that map in front of them of where the 8 gateways are, but initially we're starting with the Highway 302, which is our entrance into the airport. The second gateway on the drawing board is I-77 and Forest Drive. But others that would be significant to the City of Columbia is the intersection of I-20 and 277. But out of the 8, they are distributed, equitable through City of Columbia, Richland County, and Lexington counties. We've made excellent progress thus far. And in particular, thanks to the generosity of Luke Kennedy at Nephron, we have been able to work with a landscape architect, John Lone, to develop a replica of the landscaping that which reflects the vibrancy of our region. As the entrance from CAE to Interstate 26 has long been identified as an area of need for beautification, we've agreed to address this most regional gateway first, welcoming every person who flies into the airport, into Columbia. And then the second gateway would be the Forest Drive exit on I-77, which greets so many servicemen and women, will follow as the second. We brought this project to each council for a preliminary endorsement with the help of our outstanding administrators. And we've begun working with a trusted team at the Central Midlands Council of Governments, the COG, to draft an intergovernmental agreement, IGA, for this ongoing project. As we move ahead, we'll work with the COG to ensure that the IGA clearly outlines the roles and responsibilities for all of the participating entities. The COG will oversee the procurement process, make sure we are following protocol and guidelines guided by the representatives of each government. The MBLG, supported by our local Columbia chambers and Lexington chambers, will take the lead on fundraising and initial construction dollars on a rolling project by project basis. I'd also like to note that although the business community, MBLG, took on the responsibility of raising the funds for construction, Lexington County, unsolicited, made an upfront commitment of $500,000 towards the 302 project. But the COG will serve as the fundraising vehicle. We have identified members of the fundraising community as part of the business community that will kick off a fundraising effort sometime during the month of January. The COG will also oversee construction and maintenance contracts with support from government, and maintenance costs will be shared between all participating governments. And that's where we will come back at a later date. That's where you would come in to kind of pay your pro rata share of the ongoing maintenance.
James,
yes, Teresa.
James, I know I think we thought you were probably just opening up and handing off to one of your counterparts for it, because I knew you all had a presentation, but
Yeah.
as you continued, it sounds like you're going through that presentation. I know that typically the presenters are moving their screens and screen sharing. So did you need us to do that? Or I know you had asked a little while ago about showing the map.
Yeah. Well, I tell you at this point, let's go back to, let's see what page. Let's go back to
Will, do you have, are you doing that, or do you need us to do that?
No, I need y'all to do it.
Okay.
I think what's significant, when you agree, Will, if you go back to page 7, so that we could see where the gateways are located.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but you were making such great points, and I didn't know if you were trying to show some of those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we can go back to the one with the map, Teresa.
I'm gonna need help from our clerk, so because they
Page 37 on ours.
yeah.
Ms.
y'all have
Wilson, we're
hard
working.
copies?
Ms. Wilson, we're working on on the presentation. Either can Mr. Bennett send it to us so we can put it on the screen, because we did not receive it.
It was sent because I have it. So they did send it.
You send the agenda packet.
Yeah.
Will is screen share right now.
Okay. Thank you, Will.
Shank is all up. We're good.
Yeah, I think we thought that you all would be doing that and moving it along, Will. So why don't you all go back to where you need to be?
Okay, so here's the map of the identified gateways, and you could see that they are throughout the entire region. A lot of them are interchanges between I-20 and 277, I-20 and 77, you know, coming from the Blackwood area into Columbia. The second project that we will undertake is I-77 and Forest Drive. And then you come on around is I-26 and 77. And then the first project, which is Highway 302, that's at I-26 and 302. And of course, we got I-20 and Highway 1 in Lexington and Malfunction Junction, which is I-20 and 26. And then I-26 and Harbison Boulevard. And so you can see the mileage between them, which is anywhere from 5 to 9 miles apart there. So I think the committee did a pretty good job in identifying those gateways throughout the region there, with the landscaping and the signage will represent the region. This is a marketing of the region as opposed to individual municipalities here. And so again, the fundraising piece of it, to do the implementation of the landscaping and providing water and things of that nature, for the most part, would be the responsibility of the business community, except for the fact I mentioned for the 302 project, Lexington County kicked in $500,000 for that. But what will be asked of the governmental entities is ideally to take existing landscape and maintenance dollars and pool their pro rata share through the cause for the ongoing upkeep and maintenance of the gateways. With that, Will, anything that you would like to add before I open it up for questions?
James, I think you covered it all. We're happy to answer any questions as y'all get a chance to flip to that presentation. If you need me to go back to any slides, please just let me know. But thank you to Ms. Wilson, Mr. Anderson, of course, Mayor Benjamin, Councilman Rickman, and Councilwoman Devine for your support of this project thus far.
Well, I know at one of our last meetings, we were getting to the point and working with Gregory and Reginald and those at the COG, which I'm glad they're on today as well, to work through the IGA, in particular, the specifics, and have a chance to review that. How is that process coming along?
That process is coming along nicely. We are planning to pull together a group in the next couple of weeks to do an in-depth review of the latest draft of that IGA. That will give us a chance to hash out some of the things we're still working through, including exactly what that cost sharing plan is going to look like. To hear your feedback on things like maintenance contracts and things like that as we go forward. So the draft is coming along nicely. We're getting towards a completed draft with all of the issues we identified from the get-go that we knew needed to be addressed.
Can we go back to the eight gateway map? Can we go back there for just a moment?
Yes, sir.
And as Will is going back to that, I do hope, you know, the mayor, I know Mr. Vine, Mr. Rickman have been involved here, you know, along the way. But again, it was very important, I think, to me and the other administrators, managers, that all of full councils understood and also endorsed this regional collaborative, because again, these are, you know, some projects are in the city and some are not, but the thought is that regionally, each government is invested in all of the projects as far as the implementation, and then utilizing hopefully in the particular jurisdictions in which some of the projects will fall, per se, if it was a project that was in the city limits, then the ongoing maintenance, any you know, in-kind costs of things that our staff would normally do anyway could be realized in with those projects that are in the particular areas of the city of Columbia, for example, and so on and so forth with the other jurisdictions. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear and really get you all's feedback and thoughts on that. I think that's what James was looking for today.
Thank you.
Ed, you had some questions about the map?
Yeah, the I-20 and South Carolina 277. That's I think that's mid-screen there.
Top of the screen.
Yeah, on top of it. Yeah, okay, I see it now. Now, is that Two Notch Road or what?
No, that's exactly where 20 and 277 intersect. Councilman McDowell.
20 and 277. I-77.
277.
Okay, I got you. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, it's just right at the, you know, around the interstate and where it intersects.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
it.
Most of these projects are right there off of the interstate, you know.
And add a little more context, these were chosen because they experience very high traffic volumes and very high visibility too.
Yeah. And some of this obviously will make sense to you all from our very early discussions quite some time ago around Gateway.
That's right.
Corridor.
That's right.
But I think everyone who's been a part of this discussion with MBLG over the last, it's been well over a year now, could probably read from Teresa and Robert's hymnals as it relates to just having clarity around government, the government's role, and everyone's just kind of making sure this is really, I think, indicative of a great partnership, a good public-private partnership, and obviously the long-term maintenance and other parts are being with the respective governments where they belong. All of us obviously understanding that the very first and important move recognized not only Lexington County's significant investment in the first project, but also just the importance of the gateway from the airport being important to the health and vitality, economic vitality of the entire region. But this has been I think a well earned example in collaboration. But Teresa and Robert and the team really wanted to make sure we had some general consensus as to what our long term responsibilities would be, and I think that's what she's putting before us right now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. And maybe Will or James, you can reiterate the cost share is really coming into play with that ongoing maintenance, et cetera. And that is, again, what we're looking for the COG to be, that conduit and guide as far as procuring and making sure that we get some real costs that we would then be able to share with the council. The initial implementation is where the private sector is really stepping up and doing fundraising and helping with the projects. So I'll let y'all speak to that with more clarity. And again, that's when I was referencing the IGA. We're just in that initial phase working with the COG to sort of lay that out, but there will have to be a procurement process. We want to make sure, depending on which project it is, council, for example, if it's in the city, that hopefully city procurement regulations are followed. I know I brought up as we've been discussing this that you all are very intentional about, minority participation and that sort of thing. So we want to realize good costs, but also try as best as we can to follow some of those things that you all have wanted to see when it's come to projects in the city and how they're led. But again, we're going to work with the COG so that everything is fairly consistent across the board.
Yeah. And, this project could be new dollars, but it could be part of existing budget that's allocated to the city's pro rata share of maintenance and landscaping part of your original budget. So it doesn't necessarily mean total new dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But, as excited as I am about this initiative, I am equally or more excited for what I see as cooperation among the governmental entities. I don't know if we've seen the coming together of 6 or 7 different governmental entities in our region in the last 20 plus years. But we have folks that come and show up. They add to the conversation. I think it deepens our relationships, and it can't be anything but great for the region. So I think if we continue to work on initiatives together like this, the region is going to be the benefactor of it. And when we think about the region, folks from outside, they think of Columbia. And so we're promoting the region, but what you're doing is really promoting Columbia also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So any feedback or concerns, questions for Teresa and staff, or for James and Will that need to be addressed? I think you find some consensus and support, Teresa. Is there anything specific else you need from us in terms of directives?
No, sir, not at this time. I'm really big on everybody understanding what's going on and not hearing about it, here and there. So this was the opportunity for council. And I think James and Will and those are going to be doing this with all of the jurisdictions.
Yeah.
And their meetings early on in the new year so that everyone's on the same page.
Well, we love regional cooperation. We love it, and we need to see more of it. And I see Mr. Duval's hand.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a great idea to have these intersections beautified. I would not want to take any money out of the existing forestry and beautification budget. We are woefully underfunded in that area. So it's going to have to be new money to be found to do these things. And it sounds to me like the maintenance of it will be done through a contract to a landscaping firm instead of the city doing the maintenance. I don't think, but one of these intersections might be within the city limits anyhow. But it sounds like we will be paying a pro rata share for the maintenance of all of them, whether or not they're in the city limits, and not doing the maintenance. Is that right?
That's correct. It's a cooperative, and even though the airport is not in the city of Columbia, but the airport is the Columbia Metropolitan Airport, and that's why we started there. So I mean, that's kind of the gateway for all of us.
And then Forest Drive and Harbison, James, are in the city.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
so
Yeah.
that's there.
But yes and yes, Howard. The first comment and concern, we need to maintain the forestry and beautification budget. But yes, prospectively, we're talking about pro rata share, recognizing that we're all chipping in for the entire region. So yeah,
Right.
we keep eyes on that. Although we did carve out like $100,000 just to pay for a gateway to Chiraw, South Carolina, for you and James Bennett.
Exactly.
Just for you to
Historic cities of the
help y'all keep your city beautiful free, whatever that designation y'all have had for 200
prettiest town in Dixie.
Dixie. There you go.
And what's the name of this town? What's the name of this town, Mr. Mayor?
Chiraw. Mr. Davis, you're on mute too, Sam. And then Ms. Devine.
Just one point in terms of cost. One of the things that's always been attractive to me on these projects is that it's quality, but low maintenance. You know, I think with beautification efforts, the effort you have to put into it is what drives your budget. I've seen beautification, and I know we can do it, but with low maintenance, what you put in determines what kind of maintenance you have to maintain. So yeah. I think if we keep that in mind, we'll all be partners.
Yeah, and Councilman Davis, all of the plants and shrubbery, they all drought resistant, where they need very little water and
right.
very little upkeep, minimum upkeep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I think Ms. Isaac Devine was trying to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to just quickly say, just to Howard's point of pointing out the pro rata share, and James mentioned this early on, when the group first started getting together, there was a list of several priorities that were kind of come up with, and this was the start, kind of, I guess you would think low hanging fruit, but something that kind of really pulls all of us together to work together for the greater good. There are we all know there's some regional issues that we all need to get together that are bigger. And I think if we can start this off and show, build the regional cooperation and just certainly show that we're looking at it from the Midlands region and not our particular jurisdictions, it'll help us tackle some of those bigger issues that we all have a priority on. So I'm excited to see this moving forward. And I think having the business community partnering with us really will help us as far as long-term buy-in for our constituencies as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Any other comments, questions, concerns? I think we're off
Keep
the race.
you informed, Mayor and Council, as the process continues. I just really wanted you all to have an initial overview so you would be able to speak to it in general terms. But you can rest assured that all these managers and administrators are working with James and Will and Megan. They're probably getting tired of us, but making suggestions and, counting the coins and making sure that it's done in a cost-effective way.
Awesome. No, thank you. And James and Will, thank y'all so much for today as well.
Thank you.
Give our best to everyone else we've been working with on this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Mayor Benjamin, at this time, we can take up the consent agenda if you're ready.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Consent agenda items 5 through 13 for your consideration.
Is there a motion?
4 through 18, 4 through 12.
You know what? I think I may have the agenda. I think there was another agenda number today. Yes, sir. If that's what y'all are seeing, I apologize. I'm seeing 5 through 13. Madam Clerk, what is it?
4 through 12.
Yes, ma'am. The consent agenda is items 4 through 12.
Okay.
I move adoption of the consent agenda items 4 through 12.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
One quick comment, please, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to take Howard's turn that he takes every year. CityWorks is a wonderful program that Columbia Water is working on to efficiently make our city infrastructure wonderful. So I look forward to getting an update in the spring. I've already talked to Clint to see how wonderful that is being put into our efficiency. So thanks so much.
Good deal. Thank you. Is it moved and properly seconded? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the previous question. Clerk call roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Rickaman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.
All right.
Mayor Benjamin, this brings you all to a period of appointments, and Ms. Jenkins actually is on the line to assist. You have the Climate Protection Action Committee, Historic Columbia Foundation, and Planning Commission. Hi, Ashley.
Hey, Ashley. You're on mute, Ash. There you
Hi,
go.
thank you. Yes, we have the Climate Protection Action Committee. They're changing their structure, but they're actually presenting that to you all. And they have a voting member position that is open. And they have a young woman that has been working with the committee for the past year to two. And the committee recommends them as the person that they recommend for council to appoint.
All right.
I move the appointment of Tamaria. Is that
Yes, sir.
Tamaria Warren?
That's second.
Any discussion? We'll move to the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickaman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you.
Next, we have the Planning Commission. Council is asked to appoint Councilman Sam Davis as appointee for the District 1 seat.
So Davis has moved the nomination of Raquel Thomas forward. So,
Right.
All right. All right. I'll second his motion. Any discussion? We'll move to the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickaman,
Aye.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Deal. All right, Madam City Manager. You're on mute, Teresa.
My apologies. We are at the City Council Committee Referrals and Reports section, Mayor Benjamin, and I know Ashley just referenced this, but Council is asked to refer an update from the Climate Protection Action Committee, CPAC, in review of their bylaw revisions to the Environment and Infrastructure Committee as requested by administration.
Is there
I
a
would
motion?
so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickaman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right, and lastly,
The second referral is for Dominion to do a presentation in the Environment and Infrastructure Committee. We felt like they wanted to do this during the open council, but honestly, it's a bit detailed. And so we suggested that it would be better to be referred to committee, Environment and Infrastructure, Mayor Benjamin, and this is regarding LED lighting in the city.
all right, good deal. Is there a motion?
So move.
The second?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickaman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
And Mayor Benjamin, I know there have been several committee meetings that have occurred, several upcoming. So I don't know if any of your colleagues want to report out on those things. In addition to, I know Mr. Vine's Affordable Housing Task Force is meeting. So
Are there any reports, Council now? Mr.
Yeah.
Ms. Mc-
Yes, this is a report from the Administrative Policy Committee. We met December 17th, referencing the renaming of the park at Bull Street. The conversation was good. Out of that has come a subsequent meeting for January 14th at 2 o'clock. We've also invited Bobby Donaldson, a member of the Hughes Company, and of course, Robin Waits. We did not come nor prepared to present any names today because the Henry Simon carried us through a visual presentation of how that park is shaping up. So we will meet again on the 14th to talk further. There was some conversation about the possibility with Dr. Donaldson being a part of this meeting, perhaps looking at an African American as a name for the park because of their resiliency and their employment with on Bull Street. So that ends my report.
All right. Thank you so much, Councilman McDowell. Any other reports today? All right, Ms. Devine.
Just real quickly, Mr. Mayor, next Tuesday is our Affordable Housing Task Force meeting, but after that meeting, we'll likely want to bring forward a interim presentation to council. But what we are working on right now, and this was mentioned in Mr. Trainor's article, was kind of having a determination as to what the current deficit of affordable housing is in the Midlands, so that can be presented to council. So that's currently what we're working on. So that should come forward soon. And then secondly, just wanted to remind everybody, session 2 of the Color of Law discussion is this Thursday night. We will be talking about the current, the effects that we still see today from redlining. So that's registration is available, and that is Thursday night at 6.
All right, did they send out a link to me? I didn't see it.
It's on, yeah, I'll send it to you guys to make sure that you have it.
Thank you.
Congrats on a successful first session last month, Tamika. I thought that was great. And yeah, I mean, I look forward to the report from the Affordable Housing Task Force. I think let's just be really as aggressively forward thinking as we can be. Some of the conversations that Howard's been pushing as well. Let's on just being potentially shovel ready for anything that might come out of the new administration, and insert making sure we have affordable and workforce housing and everything else available to our citizens. I think there's much work and policy that reflects the collective desires of the community, ready to rock and roll with. Let's just make sure we're there. So thank you.
Oh, we need to do the tax study.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That affects affordable housing more than anything else we have.
Yeah, and
I agree.
And some of the decisions I think we made collectively. I mean, we didn't obviously the thing I like about this crowd is that we just do. We don't talk a whole lot, but some of the policy decisions we've made ought not, Daniel, I agree, be one-offs. Should be very broad, grand ideas and articulated that way. But the decisions we made using some of the tools that we've had, specifically for the benefit of affordable housing, as we did with Gable Oaks and the like. That's consistent with the values of our community. But yeah, if we're able to do it and on the grand scale, it certainly does really open the door to significant construction and development and the housing that reflects our values. So it's good stuff. So we got a lot to do and a lot to get done. So let's just keep on pressing. Thank y'all.
Got one.
Yes, sir, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, I just want to say briefly, the Economic Development Committee met. There's a report, I believe, in that Erica sent to everybody, so I don't want to get into too much, don't need to get into too much detail on that. But if y'all recall, a few months ago, we did get a report from the Deloitte group, and they sort of just gave up a brief update on where they are. If you recall, I think the premise was that we wanted to, that sort of working to kind of get us to look forward. You know, I think, and according to them, we've been doing pretty good and as far as manufacturing and the kinds of businesses that we have been attracting. But it seems as though that there's an agreement, and I think we all would agree that we need to kind of also take a look in the areas of where we want to go with workforce development, other incentives, education, and I think marketing, looking at how we promote, further promote the area here, and that to continue to prepare Columbia and the region for the knowledge economy, which is an area that we seem to be needing some, I guess, some grease on the tracks. Tamika and Will can sort of chime in, but that's basically it. The report appears to be encouraging us collectively as a region with Richland County, Lexington County, and so forth to take a deep dive into those areas, look at our weaknesses, but at the same time also benefit on, I think, other parts of the state and the county that are progressing. And the bottom line is, I think, again, attracting businesses and work in those areas, as well as concentrating on higher wages. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, and I'm not sure, Mr. Davis, if there's an intention to do that presentation to the full council, but I think that would be beneficial. And I just want to point out one thing. You know, there's a lot of talk about the tax study, and not to negate anything regarding our taxes. I think we all know that we have to address our tax issue. But one of the things I really found instructive on this report was they gave like the top 3 issues that they got specifically from companies that were looking at locating in Columbia, and the taxes were not in the top 3. It might have been 4 or 5, I think, but it wasn't in the top 3. But one of the biggest things was our workforce development and being able to have the talent necessary for some of these companies. And so I think that we have to, as we look at, you know, Envision Columbia and our strategic plan, I think is really right on point with what this study talked about. But I think we have to look at all the ways that everything that we have to address affects us as we're recruiting and building our own businesses. But I think if we don't get the presentation quickly, Mr. Davis, maybe even the PowerPoint can be presented to all council for us to digest before we get the presentation. But I thought it was a great presentation, and I look forward to working with Ryan and the consultants to actually have recommendations that we implement.
And some of the, Daniel, you gonna say something? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, and some of the concerns around workforce development are not only real, but also accelerated because of the pandemic. Some of the changes that we've seen to the economy, so the macro changes that have really accelerated the future of work, all we've seen between, you know, the way in which we operate and engage with each other right now, with automation, AI, and advanced machine learning is doing. It's brought, as I mentioned someone earlier, it's brought 2030 to 2020 or 2021. And we're really going to have to make sure that we do that much more to prepare citizens for jobs in the 21st century. It's something I know, I'm sure some of you probably had robust discussions with Diane Sumter and her role, not at DISA, but but as a commissioner at Midlands Tech, and just making sure we're doing a very, very deep dive in all that we need to do to make sure our citizens are prepared for a very, just a rapidly changing world. So, and I think we just have to avoid the peril of thinking that there's one answer to the question. There are a number of different things that we ought to be able to do and focus on, chewing gum and walking at the same time, to try and create a very strong and solid and positive business environment in the community. Yeah. So, Daniel, did you want to say something else? Or?
No, I mean, they're both reports, and if you read them closely, the reality is they say the same thing. So if you tie it all in together, I think we can't pick one and not the other. I think we have to address all the issues, and you collectively look at the things we talk about, we're all talking about the same thing. So I think we're on the right track. We just need to move forward, not let any of this collect dust.
Yeah. Sam?
Well, I just wanted to say one thing that's, I know I've been promoting a lot and pushing with some folks, is you just look at Midlands Tech, the described role that they have in coming out of this report. And they're very unique in that it's a technology campus technically, but part of what they want to do is to have businesses on that campus from the private sector. And I think that's a good model that we should look forward to and see what we can get out of it.
Good deal. Thank y'all. Everyone's looking forward, and that's good stuff, y'all. That's good stuff. Let's keep on moving forward together. City Manager?
Yes, sir.
There are no more reports, right, from committees? All right,
Not from committees, Mayor. I did want to address, and it really goes along with everything you all are talking about, that I know you all are always now anxious for your retreat every other year. And, I just love it that y'all drank that Kool-Aid several years ago, and you keep me on task about us doing the retreat every other year, which I love to do it too. Obviously, during these uncertain times we're in, it makes it a little bit more difficult for planning purposes. But I did want to just at least let you know that Pam has reached out to Tyler just to see, kind of what they're seeing, how they may be doing things differently with planning retreats. And so hopefully we can put something together for you. But that's just a little update. And I think hearing all of the wonderful discussions you're talking about, it certainly would lend itself to having one, but we'll just have to be creative and see how we can get it done. I just wanted to bring that up, Mayor, because some of you have asked.
Okay. All right. All right, good deal.
Yes, sir.
All right. Madam Clerk, do you have anyone online?
Yes, sir. We have one caller on the line and 2 voicemails that we would like to play into the record. We would ask the caller to press *3 if they would still like to speak. And at this time, while we're waiting on the caller, I will play the voicemails into your hearing. Okay, this time we're going to add Mr. Walker to the meeting, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Did we hear the call? Did we hear those 2 recordings?
No, I think those are Those are coming next, right? After the live sheet.
All right, Mr. Walker, are you on the line?
Okay. Can you hear me?
You sure can.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Good evening, City Council and Mayor Steve Benjamin. My name is Ken Walker. You may know me from winning a national food truck title a couple of years ago and the Guinness World Record. I'm here today to introduce you to my new AR augmented reality app called Metro U. And so what Metro U is like a new form of just pretty much AR technology that I'm using. So I know that each city has its own history, artistic treasures, and traditions, which make it unique. And these rarities, I feel like, can be fully understood by living in the city, but not so much as far as a touristic view. So what I use Metro U for is pretty much it brings the city to life. So my goal for the city of Columbia is like to make it the very first smart city. And by meaning that is like, I know that Councilwoman Miss Devine is working on a project called the City of Women. And like what my app can do is if I wave my app over a certain name, it'll actually bring up a video that shows a brief history about the said person. So it'll show a video, it can give you recommendations and sites, and it can also give you like the city website as far as where to go. I use that technology now for people's logos, and most people are familiar with it with QR codes. So it takes everything that you normally do, and then it brings it to life. And so even for small businesses, you can actually make it to where it's a treasure hunt. So let's say the city of Columbia decided they wanted to do something as far as like QR codes, where you had to visit each certain business. And then each time that you patronize, you get a certain code. And then you go to another business and get another code. So it's kind of like bringing things to life to where it's more fun to do different things. And right now I have 3 projects, which I augmented downtown. The cola sign that's on Assembly Street, I actually augmented that to where it now comes to life if you wave my app over it. So it does a lot as far as like engaging people with ordinary things, but making it more extraordinary. So my goal was pretty much to, oh, go ahead.
No, I look forward to learning more about it now. You're a young man, an entrepreneur. Again, you got your arms wrapped around this technology a lot better than a lot of us do. So let's if you don't mind, shoot me. I'd love to hear more about it directly, as I'm sure council as well. So maybe a follow up with an email that kind of explains exactly what we're talking about here. How's your business? How's your catering business and restaurant? How's that coming?
It's actually going great. We weren't too affected by the COVID-19, but we did have some trials. But yeah, we are picking up. I think because I have like a lot of people come for the Guinness Award that we have for like the world's most expensive crab cake. That's why we still have like a steady crowd that comes in. But overall, we're doing pretty good, and I'm proud to definitely be a part of the city and to bring more.
You're amazingly creative, and I think that's obviously a big part of your success. If you wouldn't mind shooting us a note, and Madam Clerk, I think we're all easy to find. You know, our email is stephen.benjamin@columbiasc.gov. I'd love to hear more about augmented reality and just kind of figure out ways in which we can get you and maybe our economic development folks, everything, talking a little bit more. Some of my colleagues a little more savvy with me on some of the technology than I am, but this is something I need to see. Okay, and I think a lot of us would like to. But you keep pushing, man. We're really proud of you. Okay, keep on pushing.
Thank you.
All right.
Definitely.
All right, but man, you be well.
You too. Thank you, Council.
All right, thank you. Ms. Madam Clerk, you had a couple of recordings you wanted to play for us?
Yes, sir. I believe we can do that now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your patience.
Mm-hmm. We can't hear that too well. It's in the background.
Okay, let me stop that one and we get another one queued up.
Well, I could actually be here just hearing Sam in the background. tell Sam to mute his phone.
Okay, we will send you all these messages via
Okay.
email.
Yeah,
Thank
would you
you.
please? That,
Yes, sir.
All right. I think that's it. Mr. Unless you have something else, Madam City Manager, Mr. Duval.
No, sir.
You want to give us a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we go into executive session for receipt of legal advice related to matters covered by attorney-client privilege pursuant to SC Code 30-4-70A2, COVID-19, Columbia water collections and zoning matters. Number 18 has been deferred. Number 19, discussion of matters related to proposed location or expansion of services to encourage the location or expansion of industries or other businesses pursuant to SC Code 30-4-70A2, Absolute Total Care, and the Williams Street project.
All right. Is there a second? Mr. McDowell, your hand's up, but you're on mute, brother.
I thought we were going to include during the executive session the zoning.
We did that in number 17.
I get legal advice on that.
I got it. Thank you, sir. Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move the previous question. Clerk, call a roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
You're mute, Sam, but we'll take it as an aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Madam Clerk.
Sorry.
Thank you to all of the viewing public and our staff and team and partners who tuned in today. We appreciate you. We're going to take 2021 together and by storm. So we're going to slip into executive session right now, and Madam Clerk, just notify us when the time's appropriate to begin discussions. And I'm going to take a